Okay, first off, can you just tell us who you are and what problem Quoroom set out to solve?
Yeah, so we are a UK-based company. We are Fintech and legal tech solution for private businesses. So we help other businesses to manage their fundraising and capitalization table. And I'm CEO in the company. My name is Ulyana. I have a background in capital markets. I'm former executive director of the Warsaw Stock Exchange office in Ukraine. So I moved my business here, and we are helping other private businesses to raise their capital and to manage their investor relations and make it more efficient.
So as I understand it then, you connect investors and private companies looking to raise capital over your platform, and that platform takes care of all the paperwork and all the compliance. That's correct, yeah. Excellent. So who wouldn't want to use you, really? You posted a blog recently which was, I think, called the 7 Tips on How to Raise Capital Faster. Essential reading for any fintechs out there. But some of that advice did seem to me to be fairly basic. That's not a criticism of your blog, because it's the feedback I get from some investment managers who say that the quality of the pitch decks they get, the understanding of the founders in terms of how all this capital fundraising works is really, really basic. Some of them just are muddling through. So I'm guessing that's what your platform is really helping to solve, isn't it? That you're trying to give them a structure, show them what's needed, how to do it, and how to build that relationship. Is that right?
It's actually true, because there is a lot of mistakes that private companies do. Startups and even scale-ups, they do not understand the process. So we try to cover in automated workflow all the necessary things that they have to do step by step in order to raise capital. So for example, one of that is investor updates. On a monthly basis, companies need to send out investor updates to their potential investors. So let's say you are a company which is raising Series A round, and you actually plan to raise this round like soon. You need to start out to send out monthly investor updates about like 4 months before the funding round. So you kind of build a relationship with investors, and they see a dynamic of your company, how it's developing over the last couple of months. So when you come with your funding round and say, okay, now I'm raising, we are closing, in 2 months we're gonna close. So basically, this is our funding round. Are you going to join? So then they already know your company. They know your brand. They know how the company been doing for the last couple of months. And you see, like, many businesses don't understand this process. They just come up with, okay, now we're raising, right? And there is no relationship built. So, and basically the Quoroom role is to educate founders and private company owners, management, about how to raise capital. They don't need to become investment bankers, because apparently on the market, nowadays practice for a private company is like, okay, you kind of need to become the investment banker over the year time period to learn how actually to raise capital. So we automate the process. We deliver this kind of educational piece on a platform as well. We have a lot of these explanations, okay, now you need to do this, this, and this. And it comes together with different type of tools which are necessary during the funding round. So it's actually data room, paperwork that they need for funding round, issuance of shares in the end of the funding round, and capitalization table management when they already close their funding round. So combining all of these pieces together, we actually make this affordable for private companies.
Because it's a massive paper trail, isn't it, when you're trying to keep track of everything. And most founders I know, especially startups, they're using Excel spreadsheets and they've got paper everywhere and nobody really knows what the heck's going on.
And yeah, we deal with this sometimes, like, because companies come to us like during onboarding process. So they migrate this cap tables from the spreadsheets when they're already in a huge mess. Then they also try to collect all the information during the funding round, because they do go through the diligence with investors, and they need to keep it now in data room. But because previously it's been in a mess, so it takes time to
unravel it all.
Yeah. So we also love to get companies early, like in their journey from a pre-seed seed stage. So they start everything as it should be. So when they get to the next funding round, so they are more prepared, right? So they have already their documents in one place, and they already have their capitalization table digitalized. They already have their employee option agreements all set and ready to be reviewed by investor during the diligence process.
So I was going to ask you, when does a company know that it needs something like Quoroom? But what you're saying then is this is even pre-seed, so you really need to have your investment head on before.
So most of companies, they understand that they need it already on VC investment stage. So when they're pushed by VC investors to do that, but it's too late. To be frank, it's really late, because by that time it's already everything in mess. So we built our pricing model in a way that it's actually super affordable for really small companies as well.
Especially compared to what they stand to lose if they don't land that funding.
And they can afford just to really for a low price, starting from £9 per month, get things organized and manage everything properly.
And it works the other way as well, doesn't it? Because your platform is useful to investors. Can you explain how investors might want to use your platform?
Yeah, so first of all, they see their portfolio, they see their shareholdings, and if those are investors who lended the money in the company, so they also would see basically their debt certificates, private debt certificates. So of course, for investors, this is a place to view and track information about their portfolio companies, receive the updates about portfolio companies. Performance, so the place where they communicate as well. But for companies which are raising money, so investors receive the invites to a deal room. So this is a place where a company set all the documentation and description of their company and deal terms, and private company invites investor from their pipeline. So investors can get access to all of this information, and on the other hand, company can track who have been viewing a document, who have been viewing their pitch decks.
So they can identify who might be potential funders, and they can reach out to them and warm up the relationship if they need to.
Yeah. So we basically help companies to build the pipeline, and they invite investors one by one to consider their deal, and this is really from investment perspective is a better matches because if company build a better pipeline that actually match this company stage, sector, and size of the investments they're looking for. So it means that the investors are not it's correct investors. It's not a wrong investors, and this is also better for investors because they are not bombarded by a ton of irrelevant companies. So we educate companies to target a good matches. Okay, if you are pre-seed company, so do not approach seed funds because there is a huge difference between revenue requirements, right? Or if you are on a seed stage, so why should you approach Series A funds? And it sounds obvious, but apparently to many companies it's not.
It's not at all. No,
it's not
no.
So we really guide them in this workflow to approach a good type of a correct type of investors that reflect their stage. And there is also what we call the investor matchmaking tool. So again, it's more recommendations about who is the best target. So they can approach the correct investors. And investors on the other side, can submit us with their investment preferences. So again, companies can approach good investors on the other hand.
So you're a software as a service company. Do you white label your service so that?
So yes, we sell first of all to companies directly. So we serve companies and investors as SaaS, but it's possible that we provide our software as a white label solution. So if it's investment banks or investment boutiques, so we can discuss a partnership and a white labeling as well. Because for us as a company, we believe this product should be accessible for private companies of any stage. So it shouldn't be restricted only to a late stage where you already have the advisor or investment bank. So yes, investment banks can utilize it as a white label because they also need to manage the process, right? And that's why, like, we're happy to sell our software as a white label, but to really make this available to broader audience of companies. So that's why we have SaaS.
Right. Well, to bring it up to date, I've been talking to a number of startups at Finovate Europe from all over the world. Some of them pre-seed, some of them approaching Series A, and some of them have obviously raised money when money was more readily available. And those ones are saying that they're substantially changing their investment strategy. They're possibly going for lower valuations, they're reducing the ask, and they're shortening the runways. Have you, from the companies that you're talking to, have you seen within the past few months companies revisiting their investment strategies and modifying them in response to the market?
A lot of companies, they struggle to raise capital right now. So yes, they work out through the conditions, like to change the way how they are raising capital right now. So as you said, like smaller ask, and actually it's very reasonable because as a early stage or growing company, you should not raise actually too much, the more than you need, because your task as a company is to grow and to grow in valuation.
Yeah, so sitting on cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why, like, if a company cannot, for example, you said like pre-seed stage company, they were targeting, okay, we're going to raise from a VC fund, but then they realize that there is no appetite for pre-seed stage from a VC investors. So they start to shift their attention to angels and high net worth individuals because, okay, we can raise now 300, 500 from angels, do what we need to do for our product and revenue generation, and then actually have a next funding round when environment is better. And environment gonna be better because this few couple of the months or half a year have been all about expectation of the recession, and now I know that some VCs actually come back to investing. Maybe not. It's not
slightly different strategy.
Yeah. So the end of the year, that actually even right now, it's already better for talking to VCs. And you probably know that the most affected was actually late stages, right? Because their valuation were really high and they need to rethink like their valuations. So those were the most affected. The early stage were definitely less affected. So there are VC funds which are investing in early stage, but again, pre-seed, it's not.
Yeah, it's not appropriate. But, yeah.
Yeah. So pre-seed is like, okay, we are a pre-revenue company. It's usually not even the VC type of companies. Pre-seed stage should mostly raise from angels, and there are just relatively couple of pre-seed funds in the market, and so they shouldn't waste time really running to seed funds, trying to raise capital, while seed funds are looking to invest in companies we are generating about like 10-20K MRR, right?
Yeah. So finally, what's on the cards for Quoroom in 2023?
I say like 2023 for us, it's definitely a year where we would see a new funding round closing. I see some companies with us which are doing a really good progress with building their pipeline and getting more investors on board. And I really believe that 2023 would be not a disappointment in the end of the day for the market. So expecting this not to be as turbulent as 2022.